Very well. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Weckman. I am the CEO at FICX. We are a company that automate digital experiences. And with us, we have the pleasure today to have David Williams, who is an AVP at AT&T in charge of new technologies when it comes to making customer lives better at AT&T. David, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, given how busy you are with all the project that I'm sure you're dealing with. Before I get started with a few questions, let me just set the stage. I know that digital CX is a big field, and what we wanted to do today with hopefully some of the insights that David can share of what he's doing at AT&T is help the audience think about why digital CX is really so buzzy these days, and why all the companies out there with the explosion of the digital channels, customer channels, the ever-growing compliance and regulations that is growing upon them, and obviously the fact that they have limited resources and budget from an IT standpoint, how they can deal with all this complexity to continue to serve a very fulfilling and, quite frankly, satisfying customer experience to their customers. So without further ado, I would like to start discussing with David, who is really leading that effort today at AT&T. And maybe, David, just to set the stage, why don't you start by telling us, your role at AT&T and what you think when it comes to obviously digital CX, what a big win would look like for you at AT&T, and then we can go from there.
Sure. So first, again, thanks to Digital CX for this event. Thank you, Michael, for the introduction and all the partnership over the past few years. So yeah, David Williams, Assistant Vice President at AT&T. I lead an automation team focused on hyper-automation and emerging technology. One of the largest bot programs worldwide, probably across 60 million transactions of different solutions. We build things that help the customer service area, things that work in the IVRs, direct sellers, consumer and stores. We focus on a lot of different types of automation. We get into things like collaboration tools, desktop orchestration, AI and machine learning are new areas that we're starting to enter. And we've had a lot of great partnerships, obviously, with your organization, Michael, your company. It's been a wonderful partnership, and we've done some amazing things in some really short time frame.
Thank you, David. It's a real pleasure to work with you and your organization. I have to say that when you think about a very large company, you usually think about AT&T. And usually people say, things can take so much time to work with a company like yours. But we've been blessed in that sense. In the fact that we've been able to deploy very agile projects very quickly thanks to your leadership. But that probably is a good segue on how we actually started working together. I remember meeting you. COVID was, getting really on the map. We were probably, a month into the, or two into the quarantine for everybody. And so our first deployment happened during this onset of COVID. Can you help the audience here understand how we got started working together and why this COVID thing has actually been a catalyst for us to work together?
Yeah, well, certainly. There's definitely a silver or gold lining. So, at the beginning, I guess it was early March, mid-March, when the federal government mandated for the U.S. At the outbreak of COVID that everyone shelter in place. And so every company did that. However, telecommunications companies are regulated by the FCC, says that, they can work from home, but they can't have access to certain types of information, things to protect customers, social security number, date of birth, credit card numbers, things like that. And so you can imagine how difficult it could be for any company where you're challenged in taking payments or making sales because you can't retrieve that information while your people are working from home. So that caused a lot of consternation. At that time, my team, my automation team sat inside of a sales organization. So every day we would hear what was going on. I felt like we were so close to the problem that there was nothing between us and the solution. At that time, I believe Daniel from your team and I, we started to ideate. And, prior to that, we were looking at installing a visual IVR. But when COVID hit, we pivoted. So Daniel and I started having conversations and said, look, FICX has some amazing collaboration tools and capabilities. How can we modify these? How can we re-engineer these so that we can solve for this particular need to be able to allow these folks working from home to fulfill these payments and orders? We did some whiteboarding, we ideated on it really quickly. We took some long shots, and we were just committed from the very beginning that we were going to find a solution. From there, what normally would have taken about 6 months, I believe we had started in about 5 weeks. There was some back-end stuff we had to do within AT&T, and altogether, when I think about it, we repurposed some APIs and the long shot in that as well. It really felt like Robin Hood shooting an arrow into another arrow stuck in a tree for us to be able to pull that off. Typically something like that, again, it takes 6 or 7 months to install something that complicated, that complex. And we were able to just really work in an agile way with every group within AT&T, corporate security, networking, hardware, etc. It was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, David. I remember very well that period. It was intense, but we got it done and live in 5 weeks. I remember when we were having conversation with some member of your team at large. As you said, the idea was, we need, for example, to capture payments, and we have agents that are now stranded at home and do not have all the security that we at AT&T require when they are actually in the call center. So how can we create an experience for both the customer and the agent so that they can still leverage, as you said, your payment gateways, your existing systems, but just slap on top of it a customer experience that will allow you to start capturing payment overnight. And I'm very glad that with your leadership, we were able to actually do that and started together this way. But going beyond that challenge of capturing payments, could you maybe help us think a little bit about, at a higher level, what were some of the key challenges when you think about FICX and digital CX in general that you were trying to solve, beyond COVID, to be honest, and yet you're still trying to solve in your leadership role at AT&T and for AT&T?
Yeah, when I think about those things, one of the things that comes to mind is how flexible and nimble FICX has been. When we installed that particular solution to solve for COVID, I was focused on solving that on the business side of AT&T, where I work. However, our consumer side was going through the same challenges. And so, working with FICX, their collaboration capabilities are so flexible, so nimble, we were able to apply the same solution to both sides of our organization, both sides of customer service. That was huge for us. That way we didn't have to go back and figure out, plan B or something different, right? That really allowed us to scale and move fast. When I think about some of those challenges that we were able to get past, again, flexibility, where the equipment sits. AT&T has a ton of security protocols. And so, which is why before COVID, taking payments and things like that wasn't an issue, because we have so many protocols inside of our call center. Working from home, you have to figure out how to adjust to that. Getting all of that equipment behind the firewall, working through those networking topologies to get that taken care of. The configuration of the solution we created being so scalable so that once we started adding 10, 20, 30, 40,000 folks to using it, it was okay. It was something we had line of sight to. And so, I could go through a number of other things. I would tell you, even as we branded it, as we worked through the user interface of it, user experience of it, just all of the things that matter in a digital experience. It was an amazing collaboration. Everything that we needed, you guys were able to fulfill in very short order. And as we had to continue to modify the plan, you were there with us every step of the way. So it's been great. It's been amazing to be able to deliver something like that to so many people. Because just to take one step back, if you think about it, April, I think we deployed it on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. If you think about that time, March 16th and Cinco de Mayo, so many businesses, so many institutions were trying to equip their employees with communication devices. So there was one need about getting our employees able to completely do their job, but there were thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, businesses that needed these services. They needed law offices needed to connect the paralegals while they shelter in place. Same as schools, hospitals, small businesses. All of these things matter. So it was a really big effort with an amazing cause to it, and I'm glad we were able to go get it solved.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate the kind words. I talk about that payment process that we put in place, leveraging your existing API infrastructure at AT&T. If I remember well, not sure if you want to get into the details of that, but there were also some after that, some processes that were having a lot of handoffs or broken for the best, for the lack of a better word. Not trying to be negative, but that are very important in your business, and that could create frustration within your customers. Do you want to talk about how you were thinking about that and how digital CX can help you or help you?
Going beyond that first installation that we addressed the COVID urgency. There's other pain points, other areas of opportunity that we've started to leverage, fix, and solve for. If you think about that collaboration capability, I don't even like to think about it just as a spy data masking thing. It's a collaboration capability, and so being able to have that visual dialogue visually with a customer, you can do so many things. And so one of our top call types is transferability and responsibility, where someone needs to transfer the responsibility of the device to, from the company to the employee or the parent to the child. We were able to use FICX to help solve for some of those things, right, in a visual way, in a very simple, frictionless way for our customers. And then, beyond that, I think about other use cases that we've been able to leverage. Again, using that collaboration capability for other types of sales offers, other types of fulfillment terms and conditions that we need to secure from the customer. I think about, we've gone into sales and provided visual experiences for our agents where a customer can see the agent, an avatar, a picture of the agent. And so that brings a whole other dynamic where typically in customer service, often it's an audible discussion. Now there's a visual component to it that completely changes that experience from the ground up, right? You go beyond that, and now that you have a captive audience where the customer is looking visually at the person who they're talking to, are able to visually make those payments on their own device in a very secure way, we can also visually show that customer different products from our catalog. So if there's questions or things like that, we can just address it right then on the spot and finish that sale for the customer so that they have the service or product that they need, we should say. And so FICX enabled us to do those things in a very frictionless way, but in a very robust manner as well. Because again, we're doing things in the IVR, we're working with customers, with our agents, we're taking care of payments, taking care of sales, we're providing a visual component to it. There's just a lot of different tendencies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this has been, I think, extremely impactful, based on the feedback that we've heard from your team. You've been, rightly so, talking a lot about how deploying a digital customer experience in a channel that is a call center channel in front of an agent can be enhanced using that collaboration tool. Basically, we create the experience and then you deploy it on your call center. I believe as well from a strategic standpoint that AT&T is also looking at creating more and more of this digital experience on a self-service basis. For lower value type of interactions. Of course, when you want to sign a new customer, providing that personal service is important, and having that collaboration on that customer experience is obviously extremely valuable. But for some mundane tasks, like changing the name on an account or making a payment, and etc., I believe that you guys also are strategically looking at digital self-service. Isn't that the case?
Yes. We're looking at, and I like to think of it more as our simpler transaction. And but when you add a visual component to it, simple takes on a new definition as well. There's only so much you can accomplish audibly, right? If I wanted to provide my email address and I'm, David Sugarbear 123, is that the 2 R's? Did I spell out the 1, 2, 3? Did I use numerics? It's difficult to tell that audibly. However, visually, you can confirm those things in a very frictionless, common way, familiar way. And so that just provides so much more opportunity to do things. And so whether you're talking about requesting a bill reprint, a feature change, a rate plan change, often those things can be very difficult and complex to navigate audibly. But when you offer a customer an opportunity, an authorized customer an opportunity to tap their way through it versus talk their way through it, you just open so many doors. It's a whole other dimension.
Without revealing anything, obviously that is proprietary to AT&T, what kind of impact, or how would you qualify the impact on an ROI basis of this kind of opportunities, especially the digital self-service that we talked about, and also the more collaborative one where we deploy that experience in a call center. Is this something that is, mildly impactful for the organization or highly impactful for the organization? And if so, in what sense?
Yeah, so when I think about it, not getting too deep into the numbers, we're running several 100,000 transactions every month. There are tens of thousands of employees that are using these services in one way or another every day. And the feedback we get from our employees is that they love it, right? This enables them to safely, securely do their job, keeping the customer's data safe and secure while having to work from home, right? This solves that need, and taking that capability and repurposing it in different ways, whether it's payments, sales, customer experience, meet the rep, share your screen, all these other things. That creates an entirely different experience. So yes, it's been very impactful. There's a lot of bottlenecks that get created if you're not able to fulfill some of your highest call volumes in an efficient way. Payments, sales, things like that, a very common transaction. So by using this fixed collaboration, this partnership we have, we're able to alleviate a lot of that friction. And now we have a ton of frictionless experiences that our employees benefit from, and they provide an effortless experience to our customers. So yes, it's been very impactful.
Thank you. Yeah, if I were to decipher some of the dimension that you mentioned in your answer right now on the impact, it seems that at a very high level, and correct me if I misunderstood you, there really are three areas of positive impact. Obviously, customer satisfaction, eliminating that friction that you mentioned. It's always difficult as people in the customer experience business to quantify customer satisfaction, and then we have CSAT, NPS surveys, etc. But the old adage, the most happy customers are very quiet, and the one that are not happy are very, very vocal and can be very destructive for a brand. So there is certainly an impact there, making sure that the friction is going away and people are happy. That creates loyalty for sure. The two other dimensions that I heard from what you were answering, one is reducing costs. Again, without getting into any proprietary information, costs can run very high when you have to put in people in front of customers to solve an issue that could have been solved without friction and on a self-service basis. Some companies look at two-digit dollar costs whenever there is an interaction like this. So you can imagine with the kind of volume that a great company like AT&T is dealing with on a daily basis, how can this add up? And then I think the third one that you mentioned was revenue. The ability to actually create face-to-face interaction in a digital way in order to actually provide that increased high-touch, increased service in order for a customer to feel, or a prospective customer to feel heard and be able to convert. So did I capture that correctly? Customer satisfaction, reducing cost, and increasing revenue?
I agree. Yeah. The customer experience, it speaks for itself. Again, providing those high-touch experiences for our customers, alleviating friction for them, certainly improves the customer experience, and they reward us with loyalty and trusting us to provide more products and services. Cost reduction, look, in customer service, it's no secret. Customer service folks look at it and measure and account for it by the second. If you're having to put a customer on hold to call another agent that hopefully is in the call center that can take this, or having to spin that customer around and offer them a digital solution, or they got to do it on their own, that can cause that can drive a lot of extra inefficiency in the whole process. And then revenue, again, providing customers more products and services obviously increases revenue. And again, during COVID, it was a necessity, right? We're coming a little bit out of COVID, and so folks are looking at life what the new norm is. And a lot of those solutions that we're able to provide, folks are looking at to see how they can thrive in a post-pandemic world. So yes, all three of those.
Thank you for confirming. Yeah, I could geek out on this from an analytical standpoint a long time, but just in the sake of continuing to discuss about broader topic around digital CX, a question related to the impact and also related to organization that I'm going to ask you a little bit later, but there is a lot of buzz, and for the right reason, about digital CX, but also the aspect of having a no-code, we seem to have lost light on David. David, you seem to be in the dark. So hopefully they can fix that. And while they're doing that, the no-code aspect, the no-code prefix in any CX automation platform, like FICX, like our, how's that no-code thing important from your standpoint? Is this something that is key? And was that key in your decision to choose your partner?
Yeah, so, the one thing I'll say, so there's two sides to that. One, low-code, no-code technology is democratizing the ability for folks to solve problems, right? At one point in technology, no one worked on the computers except IT, right? And over time, more of that knowledge, more of that expertise has moved and spread beyond IT into other organizations. When I think about low-code, no-code, that opens up even more opportunity for more people to be a part of that solution, right? Having a partner like FICX, what that does for us is, in very simple terms, we can talk about what problems, what opportunities and challenges that we have, not have to get into the binary full stack development of it, and FICX turn that solution around for us where we can easily integrate it into our existing systems and move forward. All the while, we haven't had to go to the depths of the ocean to go figure out how to code this thing. Right? We can talk a very simple term to find out what the problem, to identify the problem, develop a solution, and then get it integrated in a simple way.
Yeah.
That is.
No, absolutely. Actually, this question is a good segue to what I want to talk with you now about, and which I think is a very important topic in your heart, because not only you recognize the efforts that need to be deployed, but also you're very good at convincing people in your organization of a sense of urgency. So what I want to talk about is, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience are hearing all this. It sounds great, and in my conversation with CX innovators and leaders like you, I hear it almost all the time, which is, yeah, no code is great. It allows us to not to tax our IT department because they're already overtaxed, but yet still continue to be agile, nimble, and adapt to any needs that the customers have. All this is great, but we are a big organization. Decisions can, especially when it comes to CX, can actually span a lot of departments, a lot of different teams, let alone finance and IT, and legal, obviously. So I'd like to talk with you about. I know it's an important subject for you, about overcoming barriers and driving adoption within the organization. It's great to find a solution that helps you be nimble, etc. But how did you, and especially in a company like AT&T, how did you make that happen? And you made it happen in a few weeks. So honestly, this is something that has always fascinated me about you. You have these formidable skills about aligning people there. What advice do you have for those of us or in the audience trying to move their organization towards digital CX automation? How do you get buy-in how did you get buy-in from your stakeholders, David?
Yeah, it can be tough at times, and working in large companies, organizations, a lot of times there's a lot of approvals, a lot of hands and doors you got to go through. For me, I think when we address this, there were probably a few things I think about at the very beginning that I tried to make very known. And one is, this isn't about anybody who can hear my voice. This is about the folks that can't. This is about the folks who are working from home that need us to come together right now. So no one's ego is really needed or should be in the room, because we're all working servantly for others. So that was the first thing. It's like, let's put it in perspective what it is we're coming to. Beyond that, it was things like, look, I knew we were going to go through a really tough installation. So there were a couple of angels that in the very beginning that I went out and sought after. Some folks from corporate security, some folks from our networking organization. That way that I knew as we needed to get through those doors, they would be able to help enable us to get audience with the right people and get through the doors we needed to as fast as possible. Next, I believe that everyone can bring their own superhero to work. My entire team, everyone on my team has a superhero name. There's Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's Burn Rubber Reaver, there's I'm Optimistic Prime, there's the Mamba, right? Everyone has a superhero name or persona. And I encourage that cross-functional team to bring all of it. Don't leave it at home. This is going to be tough enough as it is. Let's have a little fun while we're doing it. And let's bring out our best talent. Because if there was ever a moment that the world needed, that our company needed, they need us right now. And so for the folks who worked on that, I was adamant and always saying to them and to their leaders, right, every step of the way, every couple weeks or so, I would send a note to their VPs and leadership, letting them know the amazing job they were doing. But I also, communicated to every person on that team, there's absolutely no one else in the world that is better positioned to solve this than you. Right? There's no one closer to AT&T call center tools. There's no one closer to AT&T's firewall. There's no one closer to all these things than the folks that are working on it. And so understanding that they were in the heroic position. We were in a crisis that needed a solution, and we needed a hero. And for that particular discipline of the project, they were that hero. You are Wonder Woman, you are Aquaman, you are Superman, you're Batman. And no one else can beat you at this. And we need, when you go into something with that type of understanding and the autonomy, the freedom to fully be yourself, bring all of you to work, to bear, then there is absolutely nothing that you can't do, because I firmly believe if you bring your best self and I bring my best self, that's like putting 1 and 1 together, and that makes 11. That's how you get further faster. That's an exponential result. And so that was really it, is that we started, at least for me, I started that project with the people that were not in the room. Let's make sure that's who we're working for. And for the people in the room, we have some angels who are going to help us get through this. If there's any escalations, if there's any roadblocks, I will take them on personally. But I need you to bring every single fiber of you to this, because we're in a pandemic level problem and we need to solve it.
Oh, believe me, I've seen you at work doing that, and I've been always amazed by how blessed you've been with some of your leadership skills. To get a little bit more into the weeds here, and hopefully it's okay that I can share with the audience that one thing that you've done that I thought was both very effective, unusual, and bold. When you wanted to launch the first customer experience on payment with FICX, was that you created a daily meeting at the same time. I remember it was 6 a.m. here for me in California, 8 a.m. for you in Dallas, and you had basically a representative of every department that is going to be involved in the project there, and keep a tab of all the issues or the barriers, and make sure that we find a solution for each of the barriers with the relevant person at that meeting. I was amazed about how not only that was effective, and you kept that going, David, for about 3 weeks, I think, or 4 weeks, until we were live. Through user acceptance testing, everybody was involved. And honestly, that was the first time in my life. I've been in a lot of implementation. That was the first time in my life that I've seen something done so diligently and with such a high sense of urgency. And let me ask you, how did you get all these people that are clearly not in your team, that are clearly in other teams reporting to other VPs? How did you get them to religiously come every morning and participate and solve issues and be so feeling so concerned about making this a success for AT&T? That was absolutely incredible.
Well, thank you. So, Michael, we worked together, a few years now, and so you've heard me say this, but I firmly believe teamwork makes the dream work. And we were in a situation. So, yes, how I was able to get so many people together and do it every day for so long. A handful of those folks I knew from the past, and I would say, and hopefully they would say the same, that I've invested something in them. We've worked on projects before, and I've given them accolades. I vocally, verbally, publicly in front of others talk about how impressive that they are, right? And so when the fire bell rang, when we needed them, those folks came. They have influence as well. And so once you start building a justice league of talent, others want to be a part of that as well. And so that's how we assembled in the beginning. Keeping it going, I think there were a few things with that. One is recognizing folks. On those calls, right, there may be someone who's Henry Doe who's going to talk about load balancing. He may not be a person who's always in the limelight, always taking the front of the discussion, the presentation, but he is the expert on load balance. And so before Henry would get ready to talk, right, I may introduce Henry and let everyone know who he is, because he's a very humble guy who's not going to say, I'm Henry, I'm the best at load balancing, but I will. Before he talks, I'm going to let everyone know, hey, listen, this is Henry. When it comes to load balancing, when it comes to this network, and he's the best at it. We have the Aquaman of the seas when it comes to this with us on the team. I need everyone to hear what he has to say. There's some amazing things he has solved for, and there's a couple of roadblocks we're going to have to get through. Henry, you have the floor. Everyone would get that kind of space to do their thing, right? I think as others saw others getting that space, everyone felt vested because everyone knew that at any point in that discussion, at any moment in that project, those 4 or 5 weeks, they can have the floor fully and they can say and give all of that they have to bear. And a lot of times that's just what people, what the hero in people just wants. If they just want to bring all of it to bear. And if you give folks a space to do that, they will. And I believe that's truly how we were able to assemble such an amazing group of talent and keep them engaged for 4 or 5 weeks every single day at the crack of dawn.
I totally agree with you, and I can hear one of your leadership traits in your answer, which is humility. You're very humble because you put everything on, and rightly so, on the team. The extra or cross-functional team that you were able to bring together. Again, probably only one person out of the 15 or 20 people that were on this call every morning was reporting to you. But I think there is also something else that you're not mentioning, and that fits with your character. So I'll mention it if you don't mind. I think that you also have that vision. That vision that is not something that you want to achieve for yourself, but that you want to achieve for the organization that you work for. And you saw the big picture. And I think that people want to be part of something that make a difference for their organization. And I've seen you at work with them during these meetings, talking about, some people like, David, I'm on these other things, and because you don't have a view on all of their priorities, given that they're not within your team. And then you would always bring back that point home, which is, think about what we are trying to achieve here. Think about how we're putting the customer at the center of everything. Think about how we are increasing the value of our brand. Think about how the financial impact of the company. And you were just bringing that point home all the time. And it feels like you were feeling some kind of a leadership vacuum for that. It's they really bought into that, and I want to thank you for that energy. I mean, AT&T obviously is probably thanking you 10 times more than me, but this was really beautiful to see in action. Listen, I want to be, and I hope I didn't embarrass you saying all this, but I want to be cognizant of our time here. We're 3 minutes away from the end, and this is intentionally broad, but maybe can you share one final tip with the audience on getting digital CX right for their organization? I mean, I know you've said a lot, and you may not have a lot to add, but one final tip?
Sure. I'll tie two things together. So one, I believe I believe firmly that sometimes folks want the goal raised higher. And when you have really, really talented people, when you have the Michael Jordan of load balancing, you have the Serena Williams of security, you have the best of the best, right? Those superheroes are looking for super challenges. They're not looking for small things. And this was a mountain so huge that it brought out that true superhero talent in all of those folks to go move that mountain. And so if there's anything I would say in closing, is I would say when it comes to collaboration capabilities, when it comes to customer experience, be bold. Don't look for incremental, look for exponential. The folks on my team and the folks in that cross-functional team that we work together, that's what they get up and excited about every day. It's something exponential, not incremental. That's
a very important point. At the end of the day, what I'm hearing is we're all doing technology, we're doing low code, but it's all about humans. It's about the customers, giving them an experience that make them happy, that they can relate to, and it's about your employees, giving them something that make them happy to go to work every day and solving real issues for their customers. So Jennifer, I think that I'm nearing the end of the time here. I don't know if there is any questions from the audience or anything to answer. I could continue talking with David for hours. So I just want to be respectful of the time.
Thank you so much for your time, both of you today. It doesn't look like there's any questions from the audience. I think they've gone quiet because it's probably the back end of everyone's day now. But that doesn't mean to say that your presentation wasn't great. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation and hearing all of those insights from AT&T. So thank you both for joining today. Just as a reminder to everyone who is still online, there are some resources in the resources section. So please do get downloading on all of that content. And just as a reminder to everyone as well, all sessions are available on demand. And so you can check out all of the sessions, including this one, again, at any given time after we close. All right, before I do let you both go, any final words?
Thank you.
I just want to thank you, CX Network, and obviously David for the exceptional work that he's been doing with us, and thank you so much for your time today as well, David. Really appreciated it.
We got a lot more to do.
Fabulous. Thank you so much again to everyone who's attended. It's bye for now, and I'll see you at the next event.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.